Hello, good evening. Welcome back to the Stakehouse. Here to preview game week 32 with all of the latest analysis alongside to boot. I'm Colin McCabe, joined by my co-host Lucas Dazinski, fresh from a positive weekend just gone with a number of winning tips all posted on our socials. And we're here to find some more this game week, right, Lucas?
Yeah, overall really profitable week. To be honest, it could have been more profitable, but can't really complain as long as it's profit. Profit's profit, right? Can't
Profit
get greedy.
profit. It's hard to make profit. It's
Yeah,
hard.
exactly.
But when you do make profit, embrace it
You
and
want
enjoy
more?
it. And let's earn some more. Without further ado, we're going to launch straight in. We have Man City versus Crystal Palace. Now, we disagreed on Palace last week in terms of the results.
Yeah.
We went head to head. You did win, but ultimately,
Just about.
yeah, it was fortuitous, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
the Brighton disallowed goal, was it disallowed goal? Was it a penalty? Anyway, there was a bit of bad luck for Brighton just before the Palace winner, which was then a huge deflection. So, yeah, it was a little bit dodgy. But
Down for 9 men as well. It was a bit of a crazy game, to be honest. It finished 9v10, which is I can't remember the last time that's happened.
I mean, you did say it was the feistiest derby, didn't you? Well,
Biggest derby of the season, right?
there you go. But they did get the win, and they're in great form. And can they get a result away at Man City?
Uh, Potentially, I'd say. Look, they're going to be missing a few players suspended. Gahey's obviously out because of the red card. But again, City, they were pretty poor against United, right? Playing away, so quite a fancy Palace here. I reckon Glasner can do the job even with some key players out. That Haaland's obviously still out, even though I don't think he's that big of a miss, but maybe he was missed probably in a derby. Saying that, I'll get straight to the point. I reckon Palace +1 is my bet. So I think you can get a price of evens, basically. Just over evens, 2.03. So basically, if Palace lose by 1, you get your money back. I don't see Palace getting smashed here, so I think it's a decent bet.
Is that an official tip?
Yep.
Cool. So, yeah, Palace plus 1.0 on the markets there on the Asian handicap for Lucas. I agree. I think that City are, to say that they were poor against United is a bit of an understatement, really. I mean, everybody made a thing of the game being dreadful, the Manchester Derby, and it was. But if one team was going to win it, it was going to be United. United were the stronger of the two, which is concerning for City because the game mattered a lot more to City.
Yeah.
United have got nothing to play for, right? I mean, every United egg should be in the Europa League basket. I thought that United would lose at home to City, and so for City to
They should have won that game
probably should have won it, and City just didn't really look convincing. Yes, they've improved a little bit, but they're still nothing like the force of last season. And Palace away at any of the big sides is always a risky proposition. Anybody taking this very short City home price here, I'm not a fan of it. So yeah, I'm happy to take a swing on Palace here at 6.4. I don't think it's a terrible price.
Straight win,
yeah.
Bloody hell, got some balls in you, son.
The thing is, you only need one in a few
Yeah,
of these
yeah,
to
yeah,
hit,
no.
and you find yourself in profit, right? And I think that one of the benefits to tipping up the straight win as opposed to the Asian handicap is the Asian handicap is very similar, whether it's the exchange, whether it's the sports books. Sometimes you'll find the best price on 365, other times you'll find it on the Betfair exchange, right? The straight win, you'll always get generally a clear markup from exchange to sports book when you're going on a longer shot. So, for example, Palace are around 9-2 on most sports books here, but they're out at 6.4 on the exchange. It's a nice little markup, and then again, you don't need to hit many to end up in profit here. Will Palace win? I'm not 100% sure, but again, I just think the 6.4 price is quite juicy here. Happy to take a swing on Palace. So there you go. We're in agreement on that one. Nice start. Good to start the pot off on a positive note. Next, we have Brighton versus Leicester. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I think Leicester's got a good chance. Nah, I'm joking. Of course
Wow.
not. They haven't scored in like what?
Savagery. Savagery at the Stakehouse.
What they've? I mean, they haven't scored a goal in like 10 games, right? Something like that.
I think I think it's 23 unanswered goals against.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I don't know what. Like we spoke about this before. I don't know why they've hired Van Nistelrooy, and also like, what is he doing? They're just like, look, he's meant to be. He's an ex-striker, right? If anything, you thought they'll set him up really attacking, so they're actually banging him in, maybe really poor defensively, but it's just not doing anything. Like, I'm happy to sway this game. I feel like weirdly the price is probably right, like 1.28 for Brighton win. Not going to touch it. Yeah, happy to move on.
Yeah, it's a really short price, isn't it? So it's hard to really get any juice out of it. I mean, on Van Nistelrooy, I felt really sorry for him on Monday night. The interview he did before the game with Sky, he was a beaten man before the game. Like the weight of the world on his shoulders. He really struggled even to get through that interview. It just didn't give you any
Really?
confidence.
I need
Yeah,
to
yeah.
watch it.
It just didn't give you any confidence in the team. And obviously they found themselves a goal down after a couple of minutes. So that wasn't a surprise at all. The interview he did after the game, it made it. He honestly, the way he spoke made it seem like he was about to resign. It was very non-committal.
Yeah,
I
I mean,
don't
he's
know,
waiting. Yeah, but no point in resigning, right? He's waiting to get paid off.
but I think ultimately, which would make more sense,
Yeah.
yes. But ultimately, the way he spoke after the game was of a man that felt like he had taken it as far as he could. So I wouldn't have been surprised if they found a compensation agreement or something like that. But I mean, in my notes here, I put basically the result is really dependent on whether Van Nistelrooy is still there. And I mean that in a way of if he's still there, Leicester don't get anything from this game. If he leaves, definitely don't touch it because you never ever know when one manager leaves and a caretaker comes in and takes over for a game, they can get a bounce out of players and pick the morale up. So just if you are considering it from a betting proposition, I think whether Van Nistelrooy is still in a job by the time the game takes place is a key factor. If he is still in a job, it sounds harsh, but he's basically trying to push water up a hill with a fork. I mean, it's yeah. I would definitely not be having Leicester on side. For me, it's probably a comfortable Brighton win. Assuming he's still in the job, it's probably a 2 to 3.
I mean, it's
Brighton
mental, right? They've been on 17. What was it? Oh, what was the table? Where were they when he took over?
They weren't even in the relegation
Yeah,
zone.
exactly, right? They were like 16th, 17th, right? So, like, he's basically done nothing. Any other manager probably would have got some more points and, might have been a few points behind relegation or out of the relegation zone.
My gut feeling is they wouldn't have stayed up anyway. To be fair, right? To be fair to Rude, I don't think this. Look at their squad. Name me one Leicester player that gets in any of the other 17
Vardy.
sides. Would you? Which side would Vardy get in right now? Like,
United? Good job up top.
okay, I asked for that one, didn't I? But generally, the team isn't good enough, right? So I don't think any manager would have been able to keep them up. But what I would say is Cooper would have had them fighting for longer,
Yeah,
and he would have
yeah,
got
yeah.
closer. That's what I would have said.
All right.
Anyway,
Anyway, move on.
moving on. Yeah, well, let's go to Forest versus Everton next. Still waiting for this Forest underperformance to kick in that you keep promising us. Is it going to be this week?
I mean, what did it happen last week there? Innit? They lost to Aston Villa, so I guess it's kicking in. Although, look, Everton,
They played well at Villa, though.
yeah, they played well, but they lost the XG battle quite comfortably, actually. They lost it 3 to 1.42, so quite comfortably lost. Obviously, that's not how they play. You can say, look, they're defining the XG because the way they play, etc., and all that kind of stuff, but that's only going to get you so far, right? I think. Again, Everton, a bit disappointed the way they played against Arsenal. I was expecting them to create more chances, create more apart from the penalty, but they ended up getting a result. Yeah, not sure about that. Not sure about this game. I was eyeing up Everton plus a half, but yeah, I don't think there's much value in that anymore, considering the way they played against Arsenal. But Yeah, I'm gonna sway this game.
Cool. Just to, for anybody listening that doesn't quite grasp it when we're talking about XG battles and things like that, basically XG stands for expected goals. Um, Expected goals is a very good metric of effectively, letting you know, despite a result, how well a team has performed and whether they potentially deserve to win or not. So it's a nice metric if you don't want to knee jerk results too much. So XG, or expected goals, is calculated by every single shot a team has. Every single shot is calculated by Opta in terms of, and given a percentage, a decimal chance of how likely it is to result in a goal. So, for example, a shot from 40 yards out wide might be classed as 0.01. In other words, you might score that 1 in 100 times. Or a tap in on the line with no one anywhere near you might be classed at 0.99, which would be expected to be scored 99 times out of 100.
Unless you're taking it.
Unless I'm taking it, absolutely. Or any of the United strikers for that matter. And then basically your XG from every shot or expected goals is added up for the whole game, and that will then result in your total expected goals for or against. It's a really useful metric which Lucas uses a lot in terms of creating and working on his models, to very good effect for the last 5 or 6 years. So it's a stat that should be taken extremely seriously, and it's why we do talk about it quite a lot. In terms of this game, I think it's actually an intriguing one to call, and do think there is a betting angle here with Forest and Everton, because there's two sides. They play very similarly. Like, they both like to sit deep. They're both happy enough to surrender possession. They're both quite comfortable inviting teams on, and saying, come on then, break us down. And what I think you might get here is a little bit of a standoff. I think Forest will be a little bit uncomfortable playing Everton. I don't really know which way to call the result, but you can get even money or 2.0 for a bet builder that I've put together, which combines under 2.5 goals
Okay.
and both teams to score no. So you can put those two together to create an even money angle, which I really like. The other way that I look at this as well, should one of the teams score first, I can see them being very happy to shut up shop. So, and you look at Everton, who would probably take a point right now anyway, right? So ultimately, I can't see them going gung ho. So that angle, I feel like, is a very, very good runner at even money, and should give you a great ride. Let's move on and talk about Southampton versus Aston Villa. Will Villa just be in job done mode here in between two massive Champions League games?
I mean, at the time of recording, they're 2-1 down at the moment. So, again, I imagine they're going to be resting a lot of players for this. Southampton already down. Managers left. So it's going to be some kind of caretaker situation.
Yeah.
It might be an opportunity for them to have a good game, right, and like play a bit freely and stuff, with no pressure or anything like that. I mean, even though it didn't look like they played with any pressure at all all season, but yeah, I don't really have an angle for this game, to be honest. But I'd imagine Villa's going to be rotating heavily this game.
I think that they are still in the top four hunt, though. So I do think that, and league results have actually been pretty strong of late, and they've actually arrested some poor away form. I think what Emery will approach this game is in a manner of, let's get the job done as early as possible and then rest players, rather than, he might still rotate a little bit, but I think he'll put out a side. And Villa do have quite a bit of depth, by the way. You can look at the likes of Malen, who's coming through now and doing really well. I think it's hard to find a betting angle. If you're desperate for one angle that I might give you is Villa to win by exactly 1 goal here. I think it's really important for Villa to get the 3 points, but using the minimum resources to do it, to keep themselves fresh for PSG both legs. So I would look at that. I don't know the odds, I'll confess, but you're probably looking in the region of 3 to 1.72 for that. If you're looking for a shout, that might at least give you a run. Let's talk about Arsenal versus the Mighty Bees.
I mean, what a game in the Champions League, Jesus. Look, they rotated a lot of players, rested a lot of players for the Everton game. But even then, they played really well, to be honest. I feel like Brentford are playing well. at the moment. Had a really good game against Newcastle away. Should have probably got something. At home against Chelsea, look, Chelsea rotated quite heavily, but I feel like Brentford created the better chances that game. Arsenal going to rotate again, right? Like
Yep.
that's all they're playing for, right? And based on that factor, they're going to have a slightly weaker team, and I feel like Brentford could probably take a bit of advantage of that. So I feel like Brentford +1 is a decent bet. You can get that at 1.83. So basically, it means if Brentford lose by 1, you get your money back. Brentford rarely get smashed up by teams much, to be honest. And I mean, about to say this, but probably wrong. Arsenal rarely smash teams up unless it's Real Madrid, right? They're always winning by 1 or 2 goals. So I feel like it's a decent bet, to be honest. Also, if you want to maybe have another bet on the game, I'd say maybe both teams to score yes is probably a good shout at 1.83. Yeah, I'll be going to
Yeah,
the game as well, so looking forward to it.
I feel the exact same way. I put my notes together on this before Arsenal Real Madrid last night, so I kind of revisited this and I went, oh, I still want to proceed with the line that I've taken here,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
I am going to because yeah, Arsenal were incredible against Real Madrid, but in terms of the goals, two of them were direct free kicks,
yeah,
which haven't happened for an awfully long time. I think Arteta said the last goal direct from a free kick was in 2021. Don't quote me on that, but I'm sure that's what the quote was. And yeah, like Marino's finish was brilliant, by the way, and I think he hasn't got enough
yeah,
credit
yeah,
for
yeah.
how well he stepped into that role. But I don't know. I'm still not completely convinced in a weird way. They were brilliant last night, absolutely brilliant. Take nothing away from them, right? Um, but ultimately, I think they came up against a bit of a complacent Real Madrid, who kind of rocked up there thinking there's no Gabriel,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Arsenal got no strikers, and I was really disappointed by the front three. It was just kind of like there's an air of they were just expecting to stroll through this game and pick off a couple of goals, and then no matter how much quality you have, if you're not 100% at it, a team like Arsenal, who are a good team and work hard together for each other in a different way to Real, then you are going to struggle. But Brentford won't come there with that attitude. Brentford will come there knowing how much of a game they're in, and it's a sticky fixture in between Real because as big a lead as 3-0 is, that game is not done. Absolutely not done. And that second leg is so important to them. Champions League qualification is completely sewn up, right? It's done. So as you say, it's effectively little more than a friendly this game for Arsenal. Whereas for Brentford, they're in a good run of form. They've picked up away from home. They've got some big away results.
Yeah.
Again, Arsenal have struggled at home against the likes of West Ham and teams like that. So I'm happy enough to swing at Brentford again in a similar way that I've swung on Palace away at City. You can get Brentford at 6.6. Again, you don't need many of them to land. Again, by going straight win, I get a nice markup on the exchange as opposed to the sports books. So that's my tip.
Put them in a double.
Brentford at 6.6.
Palace Brentford double.
I mean, that would be that'd be tasty, wouldn't it?
That won't be too bad.
Chelsea versus Ipswich. Did that Wolves defeat knock the stuffing out of Ipswich?
Yeah, probably. I mean, that was a big game, like huge. They had to win that, like for any chance to stay up, and I think they blew it. I think they're down now. 12 points is way too much with 7 games to go. That was the opportunity to catch them up and then go on a run. But yeah, I mean, look, who knows what Chelsea are going to do? They made some really weird decisions and rotated a lot of players against Brentford. I mean, they can't be saving players for Legia Warsaw on the Thursday because it's Legia Warsaw. They don't need to rotate everyone, right?
Yep.
I can't. I got no real anger on this, to be honest. Like, I feel like Chelsea will win this comfortably. I can't see it. Ipswich doing much and getting a result here.
I think Ipswich will be down in the mouth, especially after going 1-0 up against Wolves. It's not like they just lost. They had it
Yeah.
literally in their grasp. and I think they'll know that it's done now, and I think the wind will be out their sails. I actually got an angle on this one, believe it or not, and it's with Chelsea, because as bad as they've been, one thing that they do seem to be comfortable of is hammering weak sides at home. They hammered Leicester, they hammered Southampton, they beat Tottenham pretty convincingly at home the other night. They're getting players back as well. Nicholas Jackson coming back. I think he's been a huge loss for them. I think he's underrated. I think he's a really good striker who's still very young that people forget, and he should be back in the frame for this. My mark on Chelsea is on the Asian handicap. So if you look at Chelsea minus 1.0, we can get a price of 1.91. I don't see any way that Chelsea don't win this game, right? So as long as that happens, we're not losing money. So looking at it that way, I wouldn't call it a free bet, but I'd call it close to it.
Yeah.
So for that logic, if Chelsea win by 1 goal, we break even. And if Chelsea win by more than 1 goal, we win our bet. And the form of them against other sides in similar games, combined with Ipswich's likely mindset, tells me that that's not a bad shout. So I'm going with that. I think Chelsea will win the game comfortably 3-0. Liverpool versus West Ham.
You want to start this one?
Sure. I'm expecting a Liverpool reaction after the Fulham game. A tiger is at its most dangerous when it's wounded. And
Who told you that?
don't know, little gem that I read somewhere. But Liverpool don't have Europe. They don't have an awful lot else to be thinking about. I think your comments on Potter and West Ham last week are proving more and more true. I think he needs a pre-season. He needs a summer. He needs maybe even a bit of a clear out there. So I don't really have a bet on it. I think that Liverpool will win the game fairly comfortably. It looks like, by the way, I've just seen news tonight that not only Van Dijk from earlier, but Salah now also both in contract talks. So both of them are going to be firing in terms of last minute negotiations. So it's true though. It's 100%.
I mean, it's no brainer for them to stay, like especially Salah.
I would agree. Although the money he would make in the UAE would be stupid, but
He can still go there later.
you never ever know what happens with injuries and so on and so forth. But yes, but
They'll take him. They'll take him even though he's injured.
Club ambassador. But I think Liverpool win fairly comfortably. I don't have a betting angle, but I think 3-0 Liverpool. If I had to predict this one,
Yeah. I mean, happy to move on to the next game.
let's do that. Wolves versus Tottenham. Can you believe that Wolves are as short as 5-4 or 2.25 for this game?
Yeah, I was looking at the Asian handicap though. Yeah, the minus a quarter at evens, and weirdly, I think that's probably right. I think the price is actually all right. That Tottenham probably going to be rotating as well for the Europa League, right? Focusing on that mainly. Don't really have an angle on this, to be honest. That Wolves now they know they're safe. They might just relax a bit. But I don't know. I think they'll still be competitive this game. Cunha should be back for this game, right? I think he's back now.
Is he? I'm not sure.
He's been away for so long. But yeah, I don't really have a bet for this, but I can see Wolves being competitive in this game.
I mean, if Cunha is back with the summer just around the corner, he wants a move, right? He wants to go to the Champions League. So
he is back. Yeah, he's back. So
he'll be flying. Absolutely flying.
Getting sent off.
But I'm the same as you. When I first saw the 5-4 price, I thought, wow, how can Wolves be 5-4 to beat Tottenham? But the more you think about it, you can absolutely see the validity in the price. Since the new managers come in, the Wolves metrics have improved massively.
Yeah,
he's
been on a good run last 5 games.
He's a bit exuberant. He's a bit, all over the place in that regard. But their metrics, he's tightened them up considerably defensively. And Spurs are awful. Especially away from home. They really are bad. I don't have an angle, so considering that, I think the price is quite right.
Yeah.
I think that Wolves will probably win this game. So, ultimately 5-4 does seem too short to bet on it, but that would, if you push me for a score prediction, I would go 2-1. We've got Newcastle versus United next. So I'll start off. Newcastle should win this game. It's way more important for them than it is for United.
Yeah.
They were really professional against Leicester, got out of the blocks early, 2-0 up in the first 13 minutes of the game, and then basically just cruised it out. They didn't try and beat them 6 or 7. The 3 points was clearly everything to them. They've had a great success in winning the cup, but they've got no other distractions now. And with a game in hand, I think they still have. Yeah, they do, because they've got 2 get to this game week.
Yeah.
They're actually, I would classify them as one of the favourites, considering that 5th now gets Champions League. Newcastle really should get Champions League. There's no excuse. Again, for United, this is sandwiched between 2 Europa League games, which are going to define our season.
And and they have the worst goalkeeper in United history, right? I remember.
I mean, Nemanja Matic, apart from one last-minute winner against Palace that I remember, didn't pull up too many trees in a United shirt himself, to be fair. I quite like
But then
Onana.
again, who did?
Who did? I quite like Onana's confidence, bordering on arrogance, and ultimately, I don't have a problem with it. I don't think there's enough of that in football. I think too many people are too...
Yeah, and look,
TG
what
when they
Matic,
speak.
and what Matic said was fair play.
Yeah,
more people should
completely.
be honest like that, right?
I love it, and it raises the interest and cranks up the tension ahead. Fair play to both of them. I like what Onana did, and I like how Matic responded. Great. But in terms of this game, I think that Newcastle win for all the reasons I talked about. I don't have a betting angle, but home win predicted for me.
Yep. Cool.
All right, next we have Bournemouth versus Fulham. Now, I know firsthand that you were toying very seriously with playing this one, right?
Yeah, and I am. I'm going with it. So I'm going with Bournemouth minus a quarter at 1.9. I feel like the last few games they've hit a bit of a poor run, but I feel like this is a good game for them to come back and get something. So basically that means minus a quarter. If it's a draw, get half your money back, right? So they need to go out for the win. I think Fulham, while they're being good, they're being very inconsistent, and you just don't know what team's going to turn up. Hopefully, Clivett will be back for this. If he is, that's a massive boost for the team. But yeah, I quite like this Bournemouth minus a quarter.
I mean, I don't know if you remember from me talking last week, but I talked a lot about Bournemouth fatigue.
Shattered, yeah.
They use a very similar squad, and there's been a notable drop-off in their second-half performances. And it happened again after I spoke about it. They were 1-0 up at half-time, and then immediately conceded 2 goals second half. I don't personally have a betting angle for this one. I wouldn't be shocked if it was a draw. Fulham are a nightmare when it comes to betting at the moment.
Why don't you go Bournemouth first half, Fulham second then?
That's basically what I was going to
say. Full time.
I'm not confident enough in terms of going with it as a predicted tip because of Fulham's form at the moment. When it comes to betting on Fulham, I'm zigging when I should be zagging, and I'm zagging when I should be zigging, to be honest. But if anybody is looking for a betting proposition, I would not back against Fulham to win the second half as a market, which you can find on most of the major tier 1 bookmakers, because Bournemouth definitely do look fatigued. Their second half performances, there's clear drop off in the last few weeks from that to the first half. So good to hear your dog agrees with me in the background there. Actually. So yeah, look, that's something that if you want an angle for this game, I'm not tipping it up, but that is something to explore. Keep an eye on Fulham second half. Last game, bonus game of the game week. We have Newcastle versus Crystal Palace.
I think this is going to be quite a good watch, to be honest. See how Palace do against City, and obviously Newcastle against United, but should be quite an open game, I think. I think Newcastle should probably edge this, I think. I don't actually have an angle on this. But yeah, interested to hear your thoughts on it.
It's almost like we're in sync on this again. It's almost like you've seen my notes on it. I agree. It's going to be a very open game on a large St James's pitch. You know that Palace will go there and give as good as they get. I think there's goals in this game, 100%. And there is an angle for me. Over 2.5 goals. Again, this is a bet builder, effectively the opposite to the Everton Fulham one that Everton Forest one that I put forward earlier.
Yeah.
This time I'm going the other way. You can back over 2.5 goals and both teams to score in a bet builder at even money. And I think that's a very reasonable price here. I don't see a way that both teams don't score. And as long as that happens, then you only need one more goal in the game. So at an even money price, I think that's a fair shout. This wouldn't surprise me if this finished 3-2, and I'm not even sure which way. I think it can be that sort of game here.
Yeah, it'd be a good watch.
Yeah, absolutely. So that goes down as an official tip for me as well. Let's go for a recap. What have you got?
Yeah, so Palace +1 on age handicap at just over evens. Brentford +1 as well on age handicap 1.83, and also both teams to score at 1.83, and then Bournemouth -0.25 at 1.9.
Cool. For me, I'm taking a swing on Crystal Palace away at City at 6.4. For Everton and Forest, or Forest and Everton, I'm putting a bet builder together of under 2.5 goals and both teams to score no, which comes in at even money. I'm taking a swing on Brentford away at Arsenal at 6.6. I'm playing Chelsea -1 on the Asian handicap at 1.9. And I am playing over 2.5 and both teams to score in Palace versus Newcastle. So look, obviously, as we say all the time, the most optimal way to bet is singles. But if
You got an acca for us.
I've got an acca. I'll always have an acca for you. You know that. If you did want to combine all 5 selections, which don't put too much money on, you can get odds of 235 to 1. Again, if you are going to combine bets, the advice is to do them as, I think, trebles when there's 5 selections is a really, really nice way to go about it. If you can get 3 out of the 5, that should represent, depending on which ones come in, of course, that should represent very nice profit. So that's probably the way that I would play that. So, for example, when you've got 5 fixtures, there's 10 trebles in there. So let's supposing you want to do £1 trebles, then effectively your bet is costing you £10 to cover all angles on that. So
PSG just scored 3-1, by the way.
3-1. All right. Well, hopefully Southampton are taking notes because they need all the help they can get. But yeah, that's it from us. We're in the season running now, so not an awfully long way to go. So enjoy the football while we still have it, and try and get some winners along the way. And we'll see you next time.